This is the CC Radio Podcast.
Welcome to episode 247 of the Countdown Podcast. Today we're going to get scientific on you. I'm glad you beamed aboard. My name is Wayne. What? Pow, pow.
Brilliant.
That shit works.
Just
please.
Scientific.
Yeah, science fictionic. That's what I roll. That's what we do.
Brilliant.
That's what I'm talking about.
Excellent. A great opening to what's going sure to be a great show, but not because of Wayne. Because of what we'll explain in a moment. My name is Paul. Welcome to the podcast. We count down movies and sometimes television in order of awesomeness. But today is the final in our best of the decade series.
Yeah.
We've covered thrillers, dramas, comedies, and now we're on to sci-fi films, the best 10 sci-fi films since 2010. And it's definitely our wheelhouse, definitely our jam. But we thought, let's mix it up a bit.
Yep.
Didn't we? We thought, let's get in some Americans, some North Carolinians.
North Carolinians.
So it's North Carolina versus Australia today because we have two guests from that wonderful state, beginning with returning guest to the show, Gerald from 2Ps on a Podcast. Gerald, welcome back.
G-Banger.
Well, what's up, fellas? G-Banger?
G-Banger's the name I just made up for you. And
I fucking love that name, brother.
You'll be glad to know that
Go ahead.
That term in Australia is a colloquialism for a G-string.
That's me.
It kind of makes it better, right?
G-string. Yeah, that's good, yeah. Fellas, I love you. Thanks for having me back, Paul. I appreciate it. Wayne, you're the man. We've only been on a show once together before, but I feel like I've known you my whole life. I don't know what that means,
clearly,
but I hope that's endearing.
In North Carolina, I'm pretty sure a G-Banger stands outside of a 7-Eleven and asks you for change.
Actually, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So it's insulting on multiple levels.
Exactly.
Excellent.
It works always.
Yeah.
That's right. And that was Wesley, of course.
Yeah, and our second guest, Wesley from the Via VHS Podcast. Now, making a big return this week, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Gerald, your show is fantastic. Tell our listeners what it's all about.
Thanks, man. You've been on before. It's very similar to you guys. It's a countdown show. So we do top 5 countdowns. It's sometimes movies, music, TV, pop culture.
Across. Good.
Yeah, we cover the whole gambit, man, and we have fun. You know, me and my buddy Andy are the foundation of the show, but we often have like rotating guests on the show. Paul's been on 4 or 5 times. Wesley's been on before. Wayne, get your... You know what? We're going to do top 5 gay pornos. I'm going to have you on. And it'll be a fucking blast. I'll insert clips, and it'll be great. But until then, I haven't had Wayne on yet. But yeah,
digging out my VHS collection now.
What are your VHS? What's that channel I can read on your YouTube? RedTube?
Foreskin.com.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And I have the honor of being on this week's show coming, dropping a couple of days after this episode, which is...
What are we doing? We're doing the top 5 movies of the decade, but it's across all genres.
Wow.
So chances are you'll be talking about a couple of these movies this week on different shows.
Well, yeah, at least
okay.
one.
I'm not privy to what he thought. Yeah, okay, good.
And then because Andy, it's a bit hard to align schedules for all 4 of us, we couldn't get here today. So we recruited from a friend of Gerald's, and indeed a podcaster, as I've alluded, is making a comeback this week of his own. It's Wesley from the Via VHS Podcast. Wes, welcome also back to the show.
What's up, G?
Oh, man.
Not
it
banger.
is so good to be here. Well, I mean, I could be. I don't know. I have to say real fast, I've recorded with Paul a few times. He's been on my show. I've been on his show. I think we were on 2Ps one time together, actually. But I've never recorded with Wayne before, and I don't have all the words to express how I feel, but some of them are throbbing and pulsating. That's a couple of them, actually.
That's good quality words when it comes to Wayne.
I'm happy with that. Putting that on my CV.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, Wes, you've been away because you had a child. Gerald's had 3 of his own and a new one this year. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the plan here with Via VHS?
Well, I don't have the time I used to anymore because I play Mr. Mom during the day and then I work at night. So I haven't slept. Yeah, I haven't slept since May. So
I remember that well.
Yeah. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I'm bringing the show back. It'll still be retro movies, 70s, 80s, and 90s, VHS era. And I'm just going to be on YouTube. I'm going to do smaller episodes, and then I'm going to save the podcast for bigger, more long form discussion type shows, hour and a half, and for some nostalgia based stuff. So some special episodes. So I'll still be in the podcast world. I'll be on the YouTube world, but I'll be, I'm a whore. I'm gonna be able. If
too
there's
am
a
a whore.
medium, yeah. See, you know how I feel. If there's a medium, I could slut it up with. I'm gonna do it.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's the two of you together. You've made your list. We're going to come back to how that all went on the other side of this segment that we call The Recount. Who wants a recount? Who wants a recount? Who wants a recount? Who wants a recount?
You know, Gerald's voice gives me something of a Woody. You sound like the Marlboro Man in my head.
Thank you, sir.
What has that got to do with the recount?
I don't know. I
You
just
get me
think I
shit
was
about
thinking,
not-
motherfucker.
not
I'm just saying.
introing it right.
It's coming back. It's coming back on
my
this.
God.
What's up?
The recount.
Sorry, cunt.
G-banger, indeed.
The recount is where we return to last week's show, or indeed previous feedback we've had on or episodes previously. Thank you, Wayne, for that wonderful throw
No
to me.
problem.
Look, it's relatively limited today, and the big news is we're going to decide the winner for 2019, because this week's vote will obviously be about who wins between us and North Carolina. This was the top 10 comedies list. It came down to the absolute fucking wire. Have you seen it?
I saw it was close, and I was like losing.
It's
So
stupid close. It's stupid close. It went a little bit like this. The patrons, sorry, not patrons, the good people in the Facebook listening community do vote. Last week's list came down to 2 vote difference,
really,
which I fell over the line, 37 to 35.
well done,
I was making all the early headway, and then you came charging back.
but not enough.
And
But that's fine.
So I fell over the line. 19-18-1, I think, was the final score for the year.
Oh, so
Um,
you win.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you to everyone who recognised that Anchorman 2 was a terrible piece of shit. 'cause
Why do you want a piece of shit? Fuck
That's
you.
basically why you lost.
Yeah, I understand.
Gentlemen, have you guys seen Anchorman 2?
Yeah, I love it.
What up?
G-Bang.
I've
I
seen
mean-
half of it.
Okay, so not so much for Wesley.
And so a little bit of the feedback here. Jonathan Kidd, I was all Team Wayne until he put Anchorman 2 on his list. I'm not sure what Glenn Sutherland meant when he wrote tactical vote. I don't know what that means. Nicole Presley was totally Team Wayne. This is no way Paul is winning this right now with a gif of my favourite person, Kevin Hart. Say what? Ation said, Paul has touched my artsy fartsy heart.
Oh,
not in a weird way.
He was doing that.
Gosh. Wayne is going to get my vote for a good list until he pronounced GIF
Yeah.
from Ray Dent.
I don't know. I never say GIF. I accidentally said it that day, and then persecution.
It is funny, the whole entire year probably came down to that moment because we would have drawn otherwise. All right, that's thank you so much to everyone who I wouldn't say saw the light, but got me over the line.
Oh, fuck off. All right, fine.
I was going to try and find that soundbite from Cheers where the French dude, I can't remember his name,
Henri
beats Sam. He's like, France has won.
France has won.
France has won.
Well, there's something you never hear. Sorry, just having our own thing here,
Yeah,
people.
we are. So that's largely it. We just had one tweet here, which I wanted to read here from John on Twitter. John Danziger wrote, I wanted to take the time and wish you both happy holidays and a happy new year. The podcast makes my Tuesday and Sunday work commute something to look forward to. Here's to massive success in the new year. Stay golden, pony boys.
What up?
Thank you very much
nice.
for that, John.
Nice.
And that's it for a very short recount this
Recount.
particular week. We want to get into the show proper so we can get our gentlemen, our guests, talking in, all the detail they need to. And we'll do that on the other side of this. The top 10 sci-fi films of the 2010.
Sexy. Is it on
Is
my
the
mic
topic
too?
for today was. Which Wayne did not know was coming. And as mentioned, we have wonderful guests with us, Gerald and Wesley. Gentlemen, how did you find putting this list together?
Yes.
Well, we bounced ideas off of each other because you told me that you wanted to have me on a couple months ago. So we really started messaging back and forth then. And as it turns out, which was surprising, there was a lot of movies on each of our initial lists our individual lists that we came up with that the other one had not seen, which I didn't expect because I see a shit ton of movies. So at the end of the day, there's 2 movies on the top 10 that I personally have not seen, but I want to say Wesley has seen all of them. Wesley, is that right? I think you've seen.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen all of them. Mm-hmm.
So he was really adamant about a couple of them that I just haven't gotten a chance to see yet that are going to be on there. And then he was very nice to me at letting me put one that I feel like is a super, super dark horse that I don't think anybody mentioned in the online feedback.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
But I just absolutely love this film from the early part of the decade. But yeah, Wesley, I mean, right? I mean, we just kind of messaged back and forth and just kind of came up with it. And
oh no, yeah, it's been a process. We've been doing this for about a month, and then some even up until yesterday we were making adjustments to it. So I mean, it's been a process.
It sucks. It actually is tough, I think.
Well, I want to say this is the first time I think we've ever had guests on who have done this via message, and yet the two of you live closer than probably any guests.
yeah,
it's true. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
yeah,
it's that kid thing, man. It's that kid thing.
Yeah, the kid thing again. But it should be fascinating then to hear how lists come together. I have to say, for the patrons who will hear this, Wayne and I's list was very agreeable.
No one called each other a shitburger or
fanny flaps.
Yeah, any of those things. No. Just like, by the way, fanny in Australia does not mean what it means in the States. Just so you know.
Does it mean ass?
No, in the States it's ass. Over here it's fucking furburger, mate. It's like,
oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
It is.
It's like flip it. It's like flip it the script
a little bit. Yeah, it's like right the other way. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Bird in one hand, two in the bush, or what's it say? What's the saying? Something like that, right?
I'm glad it went this south this quick, and I know it's all my fault. So.
Well, generally speaking, that's a safe bet. All right, then. Well, let's get into it proper. As a guest, we always lead away with you. What is your number 10 sci-fi film of the 2010s?
All right, I'm gonna let Wesley take this one because this is one of the ones I haven't seen. So go for it, Wes.
This is one of my favorite films, maybe of the entire decade. I laughed. It is a sci-fi, definitely. It was actually nominated for a Golden Globe for comedy, though. It's The Martian.
The Martian, yes.
Should we do it together, Wayne?
Yeah.
Low!
So,
please tell us about The Martian, Wes.
Well, Mark Watney is a space pirate. He is stranded on Mars, is cast away on Mars. Mm-hmm. And Matt Damon, we've spent billions of dollars to retrieve him from all places on Earth, and now we have to go to Mars to retrieve him. Saving Private Ryan, no matter what it is, we spent billions of dollars to save Matt Damon. Now we got to go save him. He's stranded there all by himself, and he's got to figure out how to grow potatoes and shit, and it's great.
I like this movie. I did like this movie. I think we were saying that it was just because of his...
It's very strong film, and Matt Damon's great in it.
Because he's the whole reason it's good. He's
Ridley Scott back on form.
I mean, but him being like so cool and talking to the camera and likable and shit, it would have been nothing without that. So I'm down.
That's the big selling point. But it's got a pretty great cast here who's back on Earth as well, trying to rescue him, how it's all coming together.
This was the film where I fell in love with Jessica Chastain because that shit is just
awesome.
off the chain, right?
Yeah, I love her.
Big fan.
I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, what's going on,
give
Gerald?
Any commentary? I don't know. I've actually been meaning to see this on many occasions, and it's just hasn't happened. And I think it's actually, I want to say it's on HBO or something now for free. So
I
was trying to squeeze it in before the episode, but Wesley was super passionate about it. So, and I've heard great things about it, so I felt like it was a good pick.
Good call.
I just haven't had a chance to catch it yet, man.
We cannot argue at all. In fact, we never would. We'll see how high it comes on our list. All right, our number 10.
Number 10
is our little indie darling of the list, and this probably be the biggest surprise. I would imagine. I think everything else on our list is pretty straightforward. It is Lee Winnell's Upgrade from last year. Do you guys see this one?
Wes, you want to say it together?
Oh, that guy's not that big a surprise.
That's good. You guys like this one. I like that because Paul brought this indie thing to the stable, and I'm like,
indie thing.
Oh, Paul's taking a break from sucking Jim Jarmusch's dick to give us another. All right, but no, you guys dig it. That means it's a
now it's legitimate.
Well, a little.
It helps.
Well, Upgrade is the story about a man who is critically injured in an attack and his wife is killed, and because it's in the near sort of dystopian sort of pseudo future, he gets an upgrade which allows this effectively sentient program to get him moving again because he's paralyzed during the attack, and the sentient program takes him on a journey to find his wife's killer and exact revenge, and it's cool AF.
Yeah, this is great. I dug the hell out of the show and did not expect to either.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, and you might not have because it was made in like a $3 or $4 million budget. It sort of popped into cinemas and disappeared again. It was on my top 10 films list of last year, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think that surprised you as well at the time.
Yes, it did. It really did.
This one hits all your buttons. It is enjoyable, it's earned, and it looks great. Some of the shots in this film are
For
fantastic.
that budget, forget about it. Absolutely wicked.
Do you guys want to tell us what you loved about it?
I mean, I just love that. I mean, obviously it fits in the sci-fi category because both of us put it on our list here. It's pretty obvious, but the action was just intense, man. It was so well done. The choreography was so well done.
Yeah.
The, like fight choreography.
Yeah.
A couple of scenes in particular, like the scene when he kind of first learns that he kind of has these powers, and he goes into the house and doesn't want to, have the fight, but his body's taking over. And he
cool.
can't help him. He can't help himself, and the different wire work that they use in it, the special effects. And I don't know if you know. Actually, I do think you know because I've heard you mention it on the show before, Paul. But I mean, this was like low budget, bro. I mean, they didn't spend hardly any money on this movie to end up being the product that we saw. I mean, you would think they would spend $1 billion on it. How great it looked, But yeah, just awesome, man. And it's really short too. It's like 90 minutes in and out,
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Absolutely,
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
They shot that in Australia as well, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, Blumhouse produced, so I give Blumhouse a lot of shit, but every so often he does do a great little indie film, and this is one of them. And I totally agree. The action in this film is phenomenal. And we should mention Logan Marshall Green, or as Wayne likes to call him,
Tom Hardy.
Yeah. He's fantastic in the movie. He's sort of acting, his facial expressions not conforming to what his body is doing. He just really nails that role.
Yeah. Surprise hit, this one. Surprise hit. Although, was it a hit? Did it go well?
Yeah, it made a lot of money because it was such a low budget
Excellent
film. Yeah, which is why Lee Winnell is now directing, it's coming out, I think, February, The Invisible Man.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. I saw the trailer for that as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but
yeah.
There we are.
Okay.
All right, your number 9.
All right, great pick. Yeah, so our number 9 is, I'm going to let Wesley talk a little bit about it because he wasn't thrilled about me including this one.
Okay.
So we haven't kind of had our spat about it yet, so I'm not sure what his hold up on it was, but he let me put it in here. He's very gracious. It is from 2016, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, is our number 9. Yay! Wesley's out on an island. Yay!
I loved it. No, I'm teasing.
So wait, Wesley did not dig this one?
No.
Apparently not. Let me real quick say why I wanted it to be on this list.
Please.
I feel like this is the best cinematic Star Wars since The Empire Strikes Back.
Ding, 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 ding.
Could not agree more. It is my number 2 if you rank all the Star Warses. It's the Empire and then this one.
Same here, man. Exact same sentiment.
Right?
So, I mean, Jen Erso, Alan Tudyk lending his kind of just awesomeness to this movie as well.
True.
Gareth Edwards is director here. But, I mean, just the story of what we know from the original trilogy, which was, of course, A New Hope. And to be able to see that kind of come to life after having to live through the shitty prequels that we lived through. And I'm in the camp that the prequels weren't very good. They had their moments in there, but they weren't very good.
Revenge of the
But
Sith
Rogue One, I mean, Rogue One's a freaking masterpiece if you're talking about the Star Wars universe.
Hell
I mean,
yes.
like I said, it's my second favorite film in the whole galaxy there. So I had to throw it on here, man, because Paul, we had talked about maybe not including Star Wars because it was so prolific, but
and given what's just come out, of course.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one. So
Wes, you were against this idea.
Let me say this. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I had a Star Wars podcast last year. I love Star Wars.
That's big.
I have no arguments on its cinematic quality. I mean, Gareth Edwards, you see in Godzilla, he could show scale better than anybody. The movie is aesthetically sexy. It might be the best looking Star Wars movie. Other than the last act of Empire, it might be the best looking one. Narratively, it's kind of forgettable. I don't think Jen Erso's that great. I don't think any of the characters are that memorable, but I still love it. It's Star Wars. I mean, I watch it all the time, so I don't hate this movie by any means. It's just,
come on, man. The sacrifice that Jen Erso and her crew had to endure to give us Star Wars, man. Like that, because of what they did in that story and how it unfolded, we got A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, so on and so forth. I haven't seen the new one yet. I can't wait to, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. This is it for me.
Really? Okay.
I've seen Wes's Facebook posts about that and his review on Letterboxd, so we'll move right along there because obviously it's too new.
I won't say anything about that, but I will say that my sister-in-law works at Disney World, and I may have been uninvited to Disney because of my Facebook. I'm not joking.
Ow. Okay. Bad.
Yeah.
Well, okay, with that in mind, I have to say, for me, the thing I love about Rogue One is just how gritty it is compared to the rest of the Star Wars universe. Like, they're playing for keeps in this movie, and they could have bitched out of it and made it a ridiculous sort of ending, but they didn't. And I really appreciated that. I thought the final battle was just amazing. And whilst I do agree, Jyn is no Rey in terms of complexity.
I like the shit out of her.
You only got one film to sort of build her up and then for her arc to play out. So, yeah. Anyway, for me, Rogue One is a fantastic film, and I agree 100%, Gerald, the best of the new iteration of Star Wars.
It was so good I shat my pants in the cinema.
That we've got.
Right there.
Excellent.
It was a good movie. That was it.
Dynamite drop-in money.
That's right, boy.
Broadcast school has really paid off.
Fuck off.
All right, let's move on then to our number 9. And that is a film which I championed. Wayne got on board with.
Yes.
Literally. Not literally.
You'll see.
Appropriately. Because it is the closest thing we've got to it's not a superhero film, but it is based on a comic. It's Snowpiercer from a few years ago from Bong Joon-ho.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen this one? Gerald, do you have?
Oh, yeah. I love it. I actually saw it recently because spoiler alert for our upcoming episode together, but I fucking loved Parasite this year, so I kind of jumped all over a Bong Joon-ho kind of kick. But Okja I was kind of lukewarm on.
Yeah,
but when I saw Snowpiercer, just a phenomenal piece of filmmaking. I agree.
Go back a bit further if you haven't seen it already as well as a side note and see The Host from 2006.
I did. I love that one too.
Yep,
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
great. Wes, you haven't seen this one?
I've seen Parasite, but no, I've not seen Snowpiercer. Okay. I need to watch it.
Yeah, look,
you do.
It's a little bit. I wouldn't say it's a Marmite film in that it's loved or hated, but there is quite a few people out there who don't like it that much, which I don't get because I think the idea, especially in this day and age where climate change is such a huge topic, especially right down here in Australia at the moment, that we try to fix the climate change and then screw up the atmosphere. And now the only way to stay alive is a kinetically, continually moving train, and the people that are on board this really, really long train are all that's left of humanity. And the class struggle that unfolds from the back of the train through to the front,
I think
it's just cool as fuck.
Yeah, look, I remember all the good bits about this, but I think the reason I had a problem with it and didn't put it on my list was that I thought it was long or something. I think that's what I thought, but I don't know. I don't know. Look, it's cool that I said this in the show, like Bong Joon-ho. It was on Jimmy Kimmel, or no, it was on Tonight Show recently, and he had to bring a translator, so he can't even really speak English that well. And he still directed this Hollywood movie. That is cool, man. I'd love to see how that went.
It was a bit criminally underseen because I think the Weinsteins bought it and shafted it, basically, that they thought it was too long and wanted a shorter cut.
Yeah.
So there was this big creative fight, from what I understand, and that's why it never really got a wide release. Yeah. And why lots of people would be in Wes's boat having not seen it. So
yeah. Okay.
All right, let's our number 9, Snowpiercer. The first one's not appearing on both lists. Over to you guys for number 8.
Right. Go ahead, Wesley, because, by the way, guys, this is the other movie that I have not seen, but I'm going to let Wesley pine over it. Go ahead, man.
Okay, hit it.
On my personal list, this would have been really, really high. Talked about aesthetically pleasing. This one has it. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, fair enough.
Interested in your call on this one. We were thinking about this one as well.
Didn't quite make the list.
But what did you... Yeah, tell us about it, man.
Well, first of all, like I said, it's just, other than my favorite film of this decade, I say this is maybe the most aesthetically pleasing film there was. The first Blade Runner, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great film, but I thought the end of it was a little pretentious, a little self-indulgent. I actually liked the sequel better than the original, which I'm really shocked about. I mean, I love the original too, but
you didn't like Tears in the Rain?
No, I don't like Tears in the Rain that much. It doesn't do much for me. I mean, Rutger Hauer's great, but it's just that whole thing just didn't do much for me. I thought this was a better story. But it is elevated by the original, and it actually, I think, makes the original better as well. So when I went back and watched, the original Blade Runner, I feel like it was elevated by this a little bit.
I know what you mean.
What happens down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, the original Blade Runner actually does have problems, but people seem to overlook them for some reason because it's such a classic and it's such a, the thing that made that whole genre the way it is.
Yeah, I think that's the important point.
Yeah, this one, I agree with you. It's beautiful, this film. And when I watched it, I remember going, I think it was a bit slow moving for what I expected, not knowing that, Denis or whatever is just like that with his movies. But I thought about it again, and I think it is probably brilliant, and it definitely is beautiful. So yeah, good call.
I think it's actually paced a little better than the original too, because the first one I always think of Enhance,
Enhance.
All
Okay,
right.
cool.
All right, well, yeah, it's a totally understandable choice. I think that'll get you a lot of votes. There's a lot of lovers, particularly cinephiles of that film. So
Hell yeah.
nice choice there. Our number 8 is another one that I brought to the table.
Yes.
And so I guess I'll talk about it a little bit and
Go
we
for it,
can,
go for it.
can chime in. It's Annihilation from last year, start of last year.
Ding, 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 ding. A little more crossover.
Oh,
Ah.
another crossover. All right. So we'll all talk about it then. Annihilation. It'll be a very short back end of the episode, I think, this one. Annihilation for me, Alex Garland adapting the series of books. And I think visually, if we use that first of all, the aesthetic, it's incredible. Alex Garland has such an eye.
He's directed this one now.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He wrote and directed,
Wrote and
or
directed,
adapted and directed it. And then the idea of putting these 4 women front and center and throwing them into, so to speak, this difficult survival journey. And that's where the sort of horror elements come out. And it's so cool, some of those scenes.
It was so complex, this film.
Yeah, it is. And
I thought it was, but in a good way, like not in a bad way. But it was
and we did
just,
speak about this on the Crafting a List episode, but you got a cinematic release for this. I wish we could have seen this at the cinema, but for us, the rest of the world, as far as I understand it, was dumped straight onto Netflix. Because I thought, it's too hard to understand, it's too complex for people. Let's just throw it here and hopefully, Netflix will give us some money for it and that will make our budget back, which is just criminal, I think.
yeah.
Well, that's your number 8. That's our number 7. So I guess we'll go ahead and just
Please.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I really want to say, I mean, everything you said was great. I absolutely fucking adore Natalie Portman. I mean, she is a goddamn treasure of the cinematic history. I absolutely love her. We talked a little bit about Black Swan when you came on with me a couple weeks ago, Paul. I just love everything she does, man. And this movie's cool because it's like, the hashtag Me Too kind of alien sci-fi movie, right? Because you got these badass women going into the unknown to take care of business. Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's just a great cast. And I think I mentioned it to you on that show, Paul, and I don't know who may or may not know this. I know Wesley and I have talked about this before too, but I heard a great analogy where what Garland and the filmmakers were doing is they were doing like an analogy for if the Earth had cancer. So it's actually the shimmer.
Yes.
The shimmer is actually like a cancerous kind of growth that's taking over the world that we know, but it's so beautiful at the same time when you're inside of it there. Like the creature feature elements that are built into this movie, me as a horror fanatic, I absolutely love, like the Nightmare Bear,
Right
the Killer Croc. It was awesome, man. And at the end, I don't know if we're not doing spoilers, I guess, but just the kind of reveal at the end that Natalie Portman engages there. Awesome movie. If I was doing a list by myself and you just had me on, this would probably be in my top 5. I love Annihilation. One of my favorite movies of the last 10 years.
You two are both horror folks?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man.
I'm starting to see what's happening here.
I'm actually not that big of a horror person. I did like this film.
Good.
Cool. All right.
Right, very nice. Over to you then. 4. Oh, that
No,
was your
that
number
was
7.
seven.
That was our 7. Yeah.
And well, guess what? Our number 7, that's where we had The Martian.
Oh, yeah. The Martian.
Oh, okay.
So we're back to you guys for number 6.
Well, this is going so swimmingly.
It
I
will.
love it.
Well, it's very agreeable so far. It's nice,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so our number 6 is the one that Wesley so graciously let me add on this list that is going to, I think, be considered a dark horse. And I also feel a little bit bad because I know Wesley has a thorn in his side right now for J.J. Abrams because of the most recent Star Wars movie, so I feel kind of bad. But I picked this movie prior to all of that, just in fairness. But I absolutely adore one of my favorite movies of the decade is Super 8 that came out in 2011.
Ooh.
Wow, okay.
That's okay.
So this
You're
is
right. Dark horse material.
That's right. Now, what did you
Yeah.
think about this one, son?
Now, here's the deal, man. Both of you seen this? Paul and Wayne? You guys seen this?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So this movie came out in 2011, right? So this movie is all the best parts of stuff that we loved in the 80s, like, The Goonies, Stand By Me, E.T., and then when you fast forward and past 2011, you have Stranger Things on Netflix, which I'm a huge fan of.
For sure.
The It Kids, the Losers Club from the It series. It's all these like child groups that are just believable and you connect with them. And I love J.J. Abrams' style of filmmaking. And Super 8 is really a love letter to Spielberg and those types of movies from the 80s that he loved. And you can see it, like how the camera lens, the light will kind of shine in the lens, but he doesn't take it out. He leaves it there, like the flare, the flare light or whatever
I
in
like
the
the
camera
flare.
angles. And I just love kind of like the kind of Godzilla Cloverfield type monster that's kind of lurking in the background, and they keep it very like under wraps until the end of the movie. I just love this movie, man. I connected with it because it kind of reminded me of all those 80s kind of like friendship gang movies, and it was also a little bit horror, and it was a little bit sci-fi.
Like a Goonies
I
horror.
mean, come on, man. It's like the Goonies making a horror student film, because I don't know if you guys remember, but they're actually making a movie on their Super 8 camera, which is where the title of the movie comes from. So just a lot of nostalgia. Elle Fanning is one of my favorite young actresses, and she is the lead here. Love this movie, man. So thank you, Wesley, for letting me put it on here.
I think I heard a lot about this film when I saw it, and then when I think I may have suffered from like big expectations. I was like, oh, okay. So, but it was still definitely. Now that you're thinking about it, it was a good show. Nice one.
Thanks, man.
Wes,
Thanks, man.
your take?
If you love Spielberg, you have to see it. I mean, it even has it does all his director's trademarks. It has the Spielberg face. It has flashlights. It has all the things that Spielberg does. And I was a little disappointed the first time I saw it, but then when I went back and rewatched it again, I really loved it. I don't think it would have made my list, but it wouldn't have been far off of it either. And what you said about Stranger Things, definitely. I mean, this film, looking back now, really it had to have inspired the idea of Stranger Things. I mean, it's not a rip-off, but it's definitely inspired that.
It's like a movie version of Stranger Things 7 years before Stranger Things came out.
Yeah.
But, another real quick tidbit, and then we can move on, Paul. But my daughter was 12 when this movie came out, and I took her to see it in IMAX. And I just remember the feeling of just being a proud father, because my daughter, and my son now too, who's 6, but, my kids just like want to go see movies that they're not quite old enough to see yet. And when I saw Super 8, I was like, you know what? She's 12. She can take this material. And I took her to see it in IMAX, and she loved it, and we share it. You know what I mean? We watch it on Blu-ray every year or so.
Oh, that's like a thing now? That makes it better.
Yeah. So I have that memory, too. It was like the first, like, quote-unquote grown-up movie she saw in the theater. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
So I have that connection to it as well. So
Fair enough. All right.
Cool.
That's a different choice, but one which you have more than adequately justified. Thank you for that, Gerald. At number 6, I want to throw to Wayne, because this is definitely more him than me.
Okay, I love this movie. Paul does not necessarily like this movie. I felt it spoke to me. I love the shit out of it. It's Arrival. Okay. So,
ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah, for you guys as well?
Yep.
Nice. Let's tell Paul why this is the shit, all right? So this movie, everyone is
You got it
about...
right, except for one word.
Amy Adams plays Louise Banks, who's this linguistics expert, and along with the team, she has to interpret the language of these aliens who've come to Earth in a mysterious, weird-looking spaceship, but really cool-looking. Now, the movie... which is very important. So the film itself, apart from looking amazing with some scenes that, like, Denis Villeneuve he did, you like that? He made things cooler than they needed to be. And that's immediately like, wow, that's awesome. Okay. So I dug the shit out of that. But then for me, I say that the movie actually asks you, the audience, a very, very important question, or hard question, which is, if you knew your life was going to turn to shit and fuck up really badly, would you still do it anyway?
Because of what you would get along the way.
Exactly, right? And her answer is, well, you'll see. But the point is, it makes you think that about yourself, and that's better than a normal sci-fi movie. It's a little slow because Denis Villeneuve, but it's. I enjoyed for some reason it didn't bug me. Usually that does bug me, but yeah, that was why I thought to put this on the list. Paul's like, eh.
Yeah, no, but I totally acknowledge its place in the best of the decade discussion. It's just that I didn't appreciate it the same way. How about you guys? Where did you land on it?
Wesley, go ahead, man. I'll follow you up.
Am I allowed to say where it is on our list at this point?
Sure is.
This is our number 4.
Boom.
I saw this in theaters, and it really, really affected me. Because I usually I'm really bad about reading reviews, and really bad about, kind of knowing some stuff before I go into, not spoilers, but knowing more than I should. And This one I saw on a whim. I knew I was going to see it, but I didn't have time to really look into it, so I didn't know exactly what to expect. So the journey it took me on towards the end of the film, I loved it. And it is a little slow, but I love Denis Villeneuve.
Beautiful.
And, yeah, I can't wait to see what he does with Dune. So, I mean, Amy Adams was great in it. Jeremy Renner was actually good in this for once.
The inevitable Jeremy
don't like Jeremy
Renner.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah, Jeremy Renner. But yeah, it was a good film. I didn't expect how things would turn out towards the end, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But definitely go see it because it's more emotional than you might expect. I was not expecting
totally emotional, man.
Yeah, that's not what I expected going into it.
Cool, nice.
I mean, the only thing I'll add to what Wesley and Wayne have already said is just Amy Adams, man. I mean, her not receiving an Academy Award nomination for this is still one of the greatest tragedies of the last 10 years.
Yeah, she really did kill this.
Oh, my God. Just such a good performance, man. And, you know, you guys were talking about it being a slow burn, which it is, and I agree with that. But you get enthralled in her character, especially if you're able to see it in the theater, like, you know, Wesley was just saying. I mean, she carries the emotion and the weighty material of this film so well that I was invested the whole time because I was connected to her. Do you know what I mean?
And it pays off.
And she's really the anchor of this movie. But I love this one. Like Wesley said, it's going to be our number 4. So
nice.
All right. Well done, gentlemen. Then how about we're into the top half of the list now. You're number 5.
Well, let's upgrade.
Very nice.
It started.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about it, or did we cover it? Okay?
We covered it.
It's like Jarvis took over somebody's body, but they're evil. Jarvis is a dick, essentially. Yeah, so there you go.
Jarvis knows best, and you will fall in line. Okay, very nice. Our number 5 is a film which no one's mentioned yet, and yet it was one where Wayne and I, on our individual list, picked at exactly the same spot, which was right around this point.
Gravity.
Oh, I love this movie. It's not on our list, though. Not on our list, though, but I love this movie.
Oh, please, Paul, tell us about it.
Gravity, the Alfonso Cuarón directed film, which that's the star of the film. The direction. This film is, I know he's got that long take sort of, that's his style. If you want to talk about like Spielberg, a element which is define a character, define a director, and that is here in spades in ways which I literally said this. My jaw was hanging open the first 30 minutes of this movie, and it took that long before I could close it again. It was so astaunding. And it's this short, punchy, 90-minute survival film in space about 2 astronauts who are basically knocked out of their spacecraft when meteorites strike it while they're trying to do some repairs, and their efforts to survive. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney were both good in the film. Sandra Bullock, the star, all centers around her. There's some symbolic themes throughout.
Tons and tons, but in a way where it was okay. Yeah, it wasn't like hit you over the head with it. It was
not slap you in the face over and over again. And just everything about this film was astounding. Even something that we don't often praise on this show, the 3D transfer, it was one of the worthy ones that actually took place. It added to the film. So yeah, that's why it hit high on my list. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. It was just beautiful, and I don't know. I think at the time I thought to myself, I'd never seen anything like this. So just
and I've not seen anything since.
Oh, yeah, I would agree. Then those long takes work in space, you know. Yeah. So it's like boom.
I mean, I'll tell you, dude, something. Everybody that's listening to this, dude, nothing scares me more in this fucking world than floating in space. I mean, right? I mean,
lucky enough, it's not this world then.
I mean, there's right. There's nothing worse than that. Like, you know, just in an abyss of stars and just, this
film would have triggered you then.
Oh, he would have, especially the George Clooney bit.
Yeah. Oh God, it was a great watch. It was very, it was a high. It really elevated your heartbeat when you watch this film. But this was on my initial list. I sent Wesley. I want to say this was like my 7 or 8 initially, but it didn't make the cut because we wanted to get some other ones in there.
Sure.
But I love this movie, man. I think it's a great pick.
Nice. Thank you very much. All right then. Did we hear your number 4 already?
Our 4 was Arrival.
Well, our 4
was Rogue One.
Now, that said, I don't think any of our top 3 have been mentioned. So this is going to get very interesting now. What have we got from North Carolina for number 3?
I'm going to let Wesley do number 2 because he knows that one a little more intimately than me. So I'll give you our number 3 real quick. So our number 3 is the second mention on our list from Mr. Alex Garland and his Ex Machina. Going to be our number 3.
Not on our list.
Not on our list. I know. It's so lots of people love this one. And for one reason or another, I don't mind it, but it ain't all that to me.
I'm in exactly the same boat. So, but what did you guys love so much about it?
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Wes. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I didn't want to step over you. I was just...
I mean, the only thing I was going to say, I mean, just like the visual effects, man. I mean, Garland is a master. We already talked about Annihilation earlier. I just feel like he just paints such a pretty picture, and puts it on the screen for you. And this movie has a little bit of this movie, Ex Machina, has a little bit of like an ominous vibe. Like you're kind of you're a little afraid, but you're also like, you kind of have a boner.
Been there many times.
So
Dick is scared stiff.
I see what you did there. So it has a very unique blend of that. It's like arousal, but it's also like, oh God, something bad's going to happen. So I loved it. I love kind of the message and kind of the like little twist at the end and the revenge kind of built in there. I didn't see it coming when I saw on my first watch, so I like that a lot too. And just the visuals, man, it's just so pretty.
Oh, it was definitely stylish. It was like wicked looking.
Yeah, it's again a beautiful film. Garland has such an eye. There's no doubt about that.
You said ominous, Gerald. That was the first word that came to my mind. It has layers to it too, because it's not just about one thing. It's not just about artificial intelligence. It's about surveillance and the nanny state, and that kind of plays into it. And then Oscar Isaac is such a dick.
He's the he's the man, right? Oscar Isaac is the shit in this movie.
Oh man, he's good in everything, and he could play anything.
True.
It adds charisma. Even if he's being an asshole, he has charisma. And I love that about it. The end was a little iffy for me, but everything. I mean, Alicia Vikander is even hot as a robot. It's just, she's beautiful, and she's great in this film too. Like, she delivers. Domhnall Gleeson delivers. It's minimal cast. Awesome.
Did you see?
Surprised it's not on y'all's list.
Yeah,
well,
I am too.
Yeah, for some reason, me and Paul didn't shake on this one the same way everyone else did. Like, it was, and I don't know why necessarily. I think I also had a problem with the ending, and it was maybe to me, it dragged a little at the mansion in the middle, a little at times. But
well, you mentioned for me what it was. I came to this late, didn't get to see it at the theater.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And the expectations were pretty high based on the buzz and the love that everyone else was giving it. And so when I thought it was fine, it was better than fine. It was good, but it wasn't great. So it suffered for that for me.
Did you see The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? You guys?
God.
Just thinking about Alicia Vikander?
I did not.
Okay. If you think she's hot there, just check that movie out, okay? One guy talking. Okay.
I thought she was beautiful in Tomb Raider. I thought she's beautiful in everything. But yeah, I haven't seen it.
Apparently Wesley
She's a lovely girl.
and Wayne will be fighting over Alicia Vikander with Gerald and his G-banger and his omni-boner, or ominous boner.
Yeah, baby.
Not sure how we got here.
Yeah.
Apologies.
I don't know. Paul just started talking about dicks.
Yeah.
All right.
It was me. It was all me. I did bring it together that way. Our number 3 is a film which I don't reckon is going to make your list then by looking at what's left and numbers-wise. It's a film which Wayne and I both really enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
I think I had it higher on my list, though.
Think so.
A little bit, yeah. It is Looper from Rian Johnson.
Yeah, huh? So
This was on our initial list, but it didn't make the cut.
Oh, good. So they do dig it then.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So Looper is about basically it's a time travel / end of the world / some kind of mystical shit / future set thing, and it's about hitmen who have to be basically they come back from the future to take out their current selves. It's a long story, and it's about.
Well, it's convoluted, but it's
convoluted.
not.
Yeah,
it's not unfollowable, and it plays by rules in its own way that kind of work.
Totally,
which is what I really appreciate about a time travel film.
Absolutely, because the thing they do at the beginning with Paul Dano, which I won't give away, but basically he's rushing towards potentially his own death, which has happened in the past. Long story has never been. I've never seen that before in a movie.
Exactly, it was a very new take on it, and then to have Bruce Willis actually giving a shit this millennium.
Yes,
Right.
Very true.
It is such a relief and so much and so good. Like, it also shows of how big a cunt he must be, because otherwise, why not just try all the time like this?
Oh, yeah.
Why settle for just, I'm too good for this and fuck you in this movie and fucking hell, it's just a paycheck? Because
putting prosthetics on Joseph Gordon-Levitt to make him look like Bruce Willis helped me so much when I was watching that. I'm like, you know what? They've really given a fuck about this, so I'm just really happy with that. So that was good shit.
And it goes places you don't expect, and it almost changes genres towards the end. So I can understand if someone left it off on that basis.
Sometimes I find it jarring, yeah. But
it really worked for me, and yeah, I was blown away in the cinema. It's a film I proudly own on Blu-ray, and every so often pop back in and check out. So that's why it ended up so high on our list.
Love me some Animal Nice. Too.
Oh,
all right,
absolutely, man.
Business now. Business time. Number 2s.
Ooh, I had some mental gymnastics about this, because I did not think this belonged on the list at first, even though that this is probably my favorite film of the entire decade.
I reckon I know what you're talking about.
I reckon I do too.
Yeah, but I decided I had to put it on there because I felt like y'all would have it on there. So then I did leave it on there. And then yesterday I'm like, I got to take it off. But then it was too late in the game. So I'm like, it's here. You know what? I'm going to gush about it. Mad Max Fury Road.
Yep, there it is.
Man.
Before you tell us what you think about it, I'll just tell you why it's not on our list, okay? It was kind of on my list, and Paul said, you know what? Paul, the guy who sucked its dick every day since it came out, right? Every day.
I'm scheduled for 3 p.m.
That's right, 3 p.m. blow. He said he felt that it didn't quite, it was more action than it was. But Paul has these funny rules. I totally get it being on your list because it was on my list.
Yes, it was on Wayne's list.
So, yes, bring it.
I will say this. If I was doing the list if we had to do the list today, it probably wouldn't have made it. I have to be honest, only because it's more dystopic than it is sci-fi.
Yes. Yeah.
But it has enough sci-fi elements to where I can talk about it and get a boner about it. So that's what I'm going to do.
Perfect.
Sexiest film of the decade, no doubt. Makes a simple plot so good. I mean, there's nothing to it, and it just delivers. Since Jurassic Park when I was 8 years old, that is the most wowed I've ever been in a movie.
Great
theater.
description.
When you say sexiest, are you talking about just like the rogue sort of style that it has? Because it's very, I've always said it's like a little very Australian. His whole the guitarist on the fucking on the top, that kind of thing. It's just weird, but it's kind of very of its. Or are you talking about the chicks? What's the deal? Why is it sexy?
It's you know what they mentioned this, I think, during the Academy Awards. He let his wife edit it, and it's the one thing that stands out about it's the colors.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because they could have definitely went for a dark, drab. Hey, it's we're in the middle of the desert. There's not a whole lot of things to see. Mm-hmm. Let's just dull it down and make it seem sad and dystopic like most of those films do. But there's so much color, and it's just eye candy every shot. I mean, it's just the whole thing. You could put it on mute and enjoy it. It's so good, and that's what I mean by sexy. But also Tom Hardy.
I was going to say Charlize,
but I mean, well, obviously, I mean, his whole, I guess, what's his name's concubines, they're all super attractive. You got Elvis's granddaughter there, for goodness sake. I mean, it's like the whole thing. I mean, Zoe Kravitz. I mean, it's just the aesthetic is great, but sometimes you get all aesthetic, all style, no substance, but this had both. And I think that's what made it deliver. But mostly it was just that it floored me when I saw it. Like I had to go see it again.
You and Paul both.
Immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw it again as well at the cinema, so I'm right there with you, Wes. And like I said, if not for the fact that I couldn't see as much sci-fi in there as I wanted to, and because, people are sick of hearing me talk about it, so it's nice to hear someone else talk about it. So thank you for bringing it to the list. I really, really appreciate it. And it also mean I can use Tom Holkenborg's score in this episode, which is my favourite score probably the last 10 years.
Well, there you go. You made Paul happy.
Yay!
There we go.
All right, our number two there.
Our number two is
wait. Gerald, did you get to weigh in there?
Oh,
no, I didn't, but that's okay. I mean, I wanted Wes to kind of lead the conversation on that one because I know he had a much deeper connection to that movie. We talked about this one a little bit, Paul, recently, but I came super late because I just saw this like a month ago. I just saw Fury Road like a month ago for the first time.
And
I think I was telling you that. And I really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it more as an action film.
Yeah.
And the action set pieces in the movie. I love Charlize Theron, so anytime she's in something, I'm sold.
I kind of feel like watching it again.
As you should.
Yeah.
Just because you
Well, you can join my 3 p.m. sucking of dick if you want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay.
Tell them not to come too soon. Okay.
All right. Our number two then, Wayne. Take it away.
Number two is possibly the best movie of all time, or certainly one of the movies of
not.
in my
Clearly
opinion.
it's
In my
fucking
opinion, Edge of Tomorrow. Tom to the cruise. Oh, what?
We stole
It was on Wesley's individual list before we started.
You shut it down.
merging.
You shut it down.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is for me. Look, obviously we think there's one bit of sci-fi that happened in the last 10 years, but I could almost make this my first if it was just me. Almost, all right? Because it was so well done and classy out. You got your Doug Liman, Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt again. She's been in every fucking song. Oh yeah,
she was in Looper. Yeah.
yeah, song. Show, yeah,
Song.
exactly.
Oh, thank God we got
Every
there eventually.
fucking show on my list. She's in tons of shit. Also, like, I don't know, but the way this was handled, this is essentially one of those Groundhog Day type movies where shit happens over and over and over. Now, that shit is tricky to film because you don't want motherfuckers to get bored when you show them the same shot for like the 100% time. But they nail it so hard and fast. Paul has an opinion that this movie bitched out at the end. I disagree completely.
Totally did.
It did not bitch out. It fucking slammed out. It allowed you to be happy. And that's, my friend, why you kind of go to the cinema. That's what I think. Yeah, it is. I don't think you go to cry like a bitch or squeal like a bitch. I'm just saying, man. Like, yeah, you should be walking out of shit happy like this. And just perfectly well done. Yeah, suck a dick. All right. So, yeah, that was Edge of Tomorrow. You also dig it too, right? Wes?
We do. Wesley much more than me. Wes, go ahead. I'll let you.
My brother texted me the other day, and he was going through my digital library of movies. He's like, "What should I watch?" And I was throwing some stuff out there, and I said, "Edge of Tomorrow, definitely. If you've never seen it," he goes, "What's Edge of Tomorrow?" I said, "Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. There's explosions and Emily Blunt in yoga pants. Watch it." He goes,
Boom.
"Sold." And so
You probably could have added Tom Cruise dies many times. What? Yeah.
Oh yeah, even better. I didn't think about that. That
I
would
love
be
me some
great.
Tom Cruise, man.
This movie, you say it bitched out at the end. I kind of agree, but
Thank you,
I'm
Wes.
fine.
Whatever
I'm
you
fine with it if the film earns it, and I feel
Which
like
it
earned
did.
it. Yeah, if I'm thoroughly entertained by something and I'm satisfied by the whole movie, if you want to bitch out at the end, go ahead. And I really enjoyed this movie, and I've enjoyed it more every watch since I've seen it.
Totally.
So, yeah.
It's totally. And you wouldn't think a movie like this would be rewatchable.
And we got another one coming, right? They have pretty much confirmed now. Live, Die, Repeat 2.
Majority Report? I don't know. What
Oh,
is
yeah.
it? Oh, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
You got something there, though.
You know
You should just market that.
Call me out. All right. Cool, Paul. Yeah.
That's it. I've got nothing more to add.
Okay, cool.
You've nailed it there. It's a great film. I haven't seen it enough times, I have to be honest. This is one that's been on my rewatch list for as long as I can remember.
yeah.
And I own it on Blu-ray. I don't think I've even watched it on Blu-ray yet.
The hell you say?
But I loved it. I loved it at the cinema other than the last 5 minutes.
Tis the balls, and so is the last of it.
All right, that's our 2 then. So here it is. Run us back through your 10 through 2, guys, and then reveal your number 1, and we'll find out whether or not we're on the same page.
We have to be because there's
completely
yeah. Keep
not.
going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming we are. You want me to do the wrap up, Wes? I'll
Go ahead. You hit it.
So
Joe.
our 10 was The Martian, 9 was Rogue One, 8 was Blade Runner 2049, 7 was Annihilation, 6 was Super 8, the dark horse of the bunch. Number 5 was Upgrade, number 4 was Arrival, number 3 was Ex Machina, number 2 was Mad Max Fury Road, and of course, our number 1 is the masterpiece of science fiction, especially from this decade, and you got to go all the way back to 2010. One of my favorite endings to any movie in the last 10 years, and just an amazing sci-fi film, Christopher Nolan's Inception.
Hell yes. Oh god. Fuck off, Paul. Yeah, all right. Fuck off. Okay. Look, let's just do our
Crossover, right?
Yeah, well, let us run through our list, and then
we'll both talk about
we can all
Inception.
talk about it because spoilers. Guess what is number 1?
That's right.
All right, our number 10 is Upgrade, 9 Snowpiercer, 8 Annihilation, 7 The Martian, 6 Arrival, 5 Gravity, 4 Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, 3 Looper, 2 Edge of Tomorrow, and yes, our number 1 in 100% agreement with the boys from North Carolina, not New Jersey. Inception.
That's right. Why do y'all love it?
Dude, I mean, Nolan's just on another fucking. He's like a
right?
cheat. He's like a cheat code in a video game, bro. He's he's doing
I
what
like that.
he's rewriting cinema. I mean, I don't know if you guys just saw the recent trailer for Tenet that's coming
No,
out.
not yet.
I have not on purpose. Though I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it.
But it's a teaser, so believe me, you don't get any fucking information from the trailer. Just a lot of cool visuals. But it looks like, Inception Plus. Like he's upgrading to the next level in the video
He
game.
pulls this
or
up
whatever.
again,
But,
man.
yeah, but I mean, Inception, right? I mean, Paul, you and I recently pined over this one as well. But it's just, the visuals. I mean, Leo is one of the great actors of the decade, and you've got him at the top of his game here. Oh man, just such a good movie. I mean, the visual effects. I mean, what else can I say? The special effects, and just the way Christopher Nolan kind of rewrites cinema. And I absolutely love the ambiguous ending to this movie. One of my favorite endings.
100%.
I'm going to be discussing with the boys of the Movie Journey at the end of January our top 5 movie endings, and I'm pretty
Very
sure
nice.
this one's going to get mentioned.
Let me ask you something.
But
Do you have a take on that ending? Which way do you think he's dreaming or is he not dreaming? I know what I think, but what do y'all think?
you know what? I like to not know.
I know.
To be honest.
It's like,
I mean, if I'm being honest, I would rather not know.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
I guess if I had to go one way or the other, I would say he's probably not dreaming.
Yeah, man, that thing was wobbling at the end. He's fucking fine.
Yeah. Right.
No, this was such a complex movie that it shouldn't have worked, but my God, he made it kill. So that's the thing I was impressed about this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And it straddles so many different genres. So some people might be going, oh, it's more of a thriller or a crime film. Yeah, it is those things for sure. And it's just so complicated and succeeds at every level. And we made a decision, and whether you heard that or not, Gerald, I'm not sure, but we made a decision when we did the thrillers list that we would leave it off that list and leave it for this one. So whatever list it was on, it was going to be my number one, basically. So I'm stoked that you guys included it here as well. It is as not just as stylish or as well acted or as well put together. It is an intriguing film, which once you get your head around it, it just adds to it. So repeat viewings reward you in a way which lots of other films don't. Like Live, Die, Repeat, still great. Edge of Tomorrow is great. It's fun. I imagine it would be fun to rewatch, but it's not going to give you this amazing appreciation that something like Inception does when you watch it second and third times.
You know, when Leo's towards the end of the movie, when Leo's deep into like Seven Dreams Deep or whatever, I reckon that feels like you're in a different place. Like the movie itself feels like you're under. Like it's really, really good. So, absolutely awesome. This is such an obvious choice that if you don't pick it as your best sci-fi movie of the last 10 years, people are like, you're full of shit. They don't believe you. That's how good it has to be here.
You're trying too
I
hard.
didn't see many lists that didn't have it on there. Let's put it that way, and put it up there very, very high.
That's right. So, okay.
Yeah, Wes, we haven't heard from you.
It's I'll say this: Christopher Nolan, all his films, well, except for maybe the Batman films, but everything else, time is a big theme in all his movies. Even Dunkirk, time is
definitely Dunkirk.
Christopher Nolan makes time his bitch. Interstellar, Inception. Memento. He molds things. He doesn't care about the parameters of what you think, how things, a movie should be set up. He does it how he does it how he wants to do it, and he's a master for it.
And the last thing I'll say about it, I'm so sorry, Wayne.
That's right.
Is Hans Zimmer. I mean, the score.
Oh, thank you.
Score
Thank you for
man.
mentioning that.
Just the music that sets the tone and just.
Yeah.
I mean, to put Nolan and Zimmer together, man, and then you have basically what is a mind heist, which is something that I don't think has ever been done in a movie. If it has, forgive me, but I mean, this is a new thing, and they just mastered it. It's just a masterwork, man.
It is. I think, what's the tagline? Your mind is the scene of the crime?
Yes, very good.
That's clever.
So, yeah.
It is. And you know
Holy
what?
shit.
Christopher Nolan wears a blazer on set. That's a CBF. It's a classy British fuck.
If there's any man in the world who would appreciate someone wearing a blazer when he doesn't need to, it is the man to my left.
Jackets are cool, and I'm sure they'll come back one day.
If it's cold enough.
No one will be ready.
Nolan will be on the front of
Are you
Vogue
kidding me?
magazine.
He's got a pocket square, that motherfucker. All right.
Well, there are our lists then. A very agreeable. I mean, what do we have? 6 or so cross-ups? That's pretty incredible for.
That's because this is
sides of the world. But I guess it's a pretty
the topic.
As many as there are lots of sci-fi films, there are so many standout ones, and we've covered pretty much all of them there. That said, any honorable mentions? Just want to list off real quick.
Well, if you want to, Wes, why don't you mention the ones from your personal list that didn't make it, and then I'll do the same.
Exactly.
I'm trying to go back and find them exactly, but I know the first one that pops into my mind that I'm floored was not on either list, and I was actually fine with taking it off ours because I thought for sure y'all would have it. But War of the Planet of the Apes was my number one film of, I think, 2017.
Yeah,
so I was actually shocked that wasn't on either one of the lists.
I thought about it, but I don't reckon that's much of a sci-fi film. Again, it's more a dystopian future film.
See, to me, because it's talking ass apes.
Fantasy.
No, it's real. It's science. It's supposed to be actual talking ass apes, not like on a different planet. It's on Earth.
I know.
So
the first one in that trilogy, I didn't mean to overtalk on you, Wayne, but the first one in that trilogy is definitely more sci-fi than the third one in that trilogy. Because you kind of have the whole process of how the apes
happens.
come to be. But
yeah.
But still,
I agree with you. War was a great film, and it's a really good series of films. As much as I'm not a huge fan of the second one, it did its job enough to get us to the third one.
The third one, just making the CGI so believable that you forget you're looking at apes emoting and talking, is insane.
All right, nice one, Gerald.
Yeah, and the two that were on my initial list that didn't end up making our combined list, you guys already mentioned Gravity, and then Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson.
I've never seen that one.
I haven't either, and it's on heaps of people's lists. Is this a good ass movie? Because it's about her ass being an alien or some shit and getting other people's ass.
Yeah, it's very. It's actually very similar kind of aesthetic to Annihilation a little bit, where but it's also a little bit of a mind fuck. It fucks with you. It's a very. It's a little bit of Annihilation and Arrival kind of combined together. It's definitely sci-fi. It's definitely alien, but it's kind of a slow burn. Like the first 2/3 of the movie is a slow burn, and then the last act of the film is kind of like, holy shit, like what just happened, and you kind of have to catch your breath.
Okay.
Scarlett Johansson is a goddamn revelation in it, and she's shows a little bit of herself, which is always a plus.
Oh, really?
Always a plus. Yes, Wayne,
I wasn't sure we get creepy, Gerald, today.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Okay, around these parts, we call that a titty bonus.
There you go.
You get a titty bonus with this film? Yes, you do. All right, then. Half a star.
Wayne, your honorable mentions.
The only one I put down, which we hadn't talked about yet, is Attack the Block and Source Code.
Yes.
So just those two, but yeah, I dug both of them.
And I would just add Tron Legacy,
yes.
purely for the visuals and
down.
the aesthetics of that film. But the story is, and whatever else. But I was blown away when I saw that movie at the cinemas in 2010.
Hell yeah.
All right, those are our lists. What about yours? We wrap up every show in a segment that we call the Pop 10.
Talk about.
Pop 10. Talk about. Pop 10. Kicking off this week's Pop 10 with your friend and ours, Gerald, and moving to your neighborhood, Dan, from the Netflix and Swill podcast.
Boom.
He had Annihilation, Arrival, and Inception, so all the films mentioned there. Duty
Smart
from
dude.
Shaken Not Nerd, Rogue One, number 1, Solo, number 2. Yeah, I like it. At number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, though we did rule out superhero films. And then he said, honorable mentions as Paul will drag me over the coals for having 1, 2 at Star Wars, Star Trek 1, which was not this decade, The World's End.
Yeah, there it is
which
again.
Wayne
There it
doesn't
is
like
again.
very much. And Prometheus.
Prometheus? Fuck that movie, man. Okay.
I just decided that the eye-rolling gif is what Duty needs in reply to almost everything he says.
Prometheus, man. That was an asshole sandwich.
Stephen from Super Retro Throwback had Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Ready Player One. What do you guys think of that one?
Yeah. No?
Somebody's gonna be mad at me. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go hide in my.
No, it's actually a
I'm gonna
little
go hide in my hoodie.
Wes?
Wes?
I stupidly read the book, and I will say the film's better than the book, and I love Spielberg, but it was just like, you think some of the new movies are nostalgia boners. This one's just like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Hey, remember this?
Yeah, I know, it's
and it's just
conceit.
like, yeah, it was an orgasm of CGI, and I'm done.
Something about it didn't work, did it? I don't know what it was. It wasn't bad.
Well, obviously, worked for Stephen, and his last choice, Blade Runner 2049. So there you go, Wes.
There you go.
Joey from So Is It Podcast, good friend to the show. He said, I'm not carrying Star Wars movies because that's too easy. Number 3, Attack the Block. Number 2, Edge of Tomorrow. And number 1, Ex Machina.
Ooh.
And then Gidget Von LaRue, who obviously a good friend to us both, Gerald. Blade Runner 2049. Here you go, Wayne. Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes! That was a fucking great movie. I love that one. No one else likes it. Only I like it. And my girl here.
And get it.
And Gidget. And Arrival was her third choice, but she did add special shout out to Passengers, which I personally enjoyed.
Really?
Whoa.
That was, yeah, okay, interesting. I didn't mind it either. It's just everyone's like,
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I think enjoy might be a strong word.
I think problematic is the word I would go for with that film. Lindsay Driscoll said number 3, Ex Machina, number 2, Inception, and number 1, Moon, which didn't feature on either of our lists.
I didn't like
I've never
Moon.
seen it.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, you can miss
Okay,
it.
there you
No,
go.
I'm kidding. It's all right. It's all right.
And added, thanks for all the laughs this year, boys. Merry festive season to you both. Thank you for that, Lindsay.
Thanks, Lindsay.
B Dizzle from the We Watch the Thing podcast, Rogue One, Annihilation, and Arrival. So hard to argue with that list there. Rolling Stone had your back, Wes, in terms of number 3, Inception, number 2, Snowpiercer, number 1, Mad Max Fury Road. So there you go.
Wow.
Over to our Facebook listener community to wrap it up then today. Starting off with James Spence, number 3, Her, which, yeah, okay, that's a good film. You haven't seen it, Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't because okay. You dug it, right?
I did dig it. I think that's a very
I
good
did
choice.
too.
Probably should have been on my honorable mentions at least.
I did too.
Number 2, oh, you as well, Gerald? Okay, there you go.
I love it. I was kind of bummed I forgot it when I just heard you mention it.
Yeah,
just
it's
now.
that same thing.
There you go, James.
gotta
Well
watch this.
played, sir. Inception at number 2 and number 1, Blade Runner 2049. Lou Fry had Ex Machina, Edge of Tomorrow, and Blade Runner 2049 as his number 1. Matt Ward had Inception, Rogue One, and The Martian as a number 1 there. So there we go, yeah. And then bit of love for David Power, top-level patron to the show, good friend. Steered away from all the big obvious ones and came up with 3 small ones. Number 3, Another Earth.
I've heard Another Earth.
Oh, god damn, so good, man.
Is
Yeah?
it?
Who said that? Who said that?
David Powell.
David, you are a fucking scholar, brother. That is a great movie, guys.
Mm.
Britt Marling is in that movie, and the concept of that film, I'll just tell you really briefly,
Please.
is she is on an alternate Earth, and the other Earth that that we're on is almost like the moon. So you can see the other Earth from each other,
Oh,
Wow.
and there's
Really?
there's a doppelganger of yourself, like in a
I've seen that
parallel
poster. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really, really good film. I'm actually bummed I forgot about that one too because I haven't seen that in several years. But that's an awesome movie.
That sounds like a head fuck, man.
Interestingly, then, let's see how you go here. Number 2, Monsters. Again, another low budget sort of sci-fi
Okay, not
film.
familiar with that one.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Me
Okay, it's Gareth Edwards' first film. And lastly, Wayne, prepare to be annoyed at yourself.
Uh-oh.
Number 1, Predestination.
No, I thought about it,
Oh, okay.
and I do love it. It's a great, great fucking movie. I don't know.
It is, yeah.
I thought you were going to get upset with that one.
No, I considered it, and good call.
Stephen Kroon had Ex Machina, Interstellar, first mention, and Arrival.
Yeah, not for me.
I know you hate Interstellar.
But I love Arrival, so what's up?
You guys, what did you think of Interstellar?
The movie Contact with Jodie Foster came from the exact same notes as Interstellar. Interstellar is a better made movie, but I think Contact is more enjoyable. I have to be honest.
I agree.
I'm with you there as well. Kevin Lawler said, "Can you just acknowledge Inception as the top of your show as your favorite and give us a top 10 after that?"
I was thinking about telling you that. I was thinking about saying that to you, eh?
Yeah, so he nailed it there. Well done, Kevin. And then his top 3, not including Inception, were Edge of Tomorrow, Predestination, and Coherence, which I watched on the recommendation of David, aforementioned David, during the year. It was okay. Very low budget sort of sci-fi film.
Okay.
With featuring Xander in a prominent role from
Oh my
Buffy.
God, no wonder you watched it. All right.
And last couple then, here, Kristen Okara had Ex Machina, Passengers as well, and Jurassic World. Not sure that would qualify as sci-fi film, but okay.
It probably would, but yeah, we didn't think of it.
And lastly, Mina Harker had Attack the Block, Edge of Tomorrow, except the end. Yes, Mina! And I was shocked at how much I enjoyed Annihilation as her number 1.
Yep. Fair enough. Good ones.
There we are. Thank you so much to everyone who gets back to us. Sorry we couldn't get through all the feedback. We really, truly do appreciate it. But it is time to end this particular show. And we're going to do so by thanking our guests, Gerald and Wesley. Thank you so much for giving up your late on a Saturday night with small
fellas.
children. We couldn't be more appreciative of your time. But do tell our listeners how to find you both and listen to your great shows and or returning YouTube channel.
Yeah, you could find me on the Twitters. I'm there at Via VHS, on the Instagrams. Pornhub. You could find me.
Wayne's already found you.
You recognize that voice.
That's right. Yeah. My flexibility will surprise you.
I'm telling you.
You can't handle the truth.
That's all right up inside his asshole.
I don't have anything on my YouTube channel yet. Via VHS on YouTube, but I probably will by the time this airs. So,
well, then send me a link in time, where I'll include it in the show notes. All right.
There you go.
Cool. And
Awesome.
Gerald.
Yeah, man. Well, you know where to find me. You've been on before, Paul. I want to get Wayne on at some point, but we just do a fun countdown show, just like you guys. We cover the whole spectrum: movies, music, TV, pop culture. You can find us on Twitter at 2Ps on a pod, and that's TWO spelled out. And then we recently moved our hosting to Podbean, so you can find us there. And and all of your podcasters, it's just 2Ps on a podcast. That's us, man.
And the interesting thing about that is that people don't normally talk about getting Wayne on.
How long you been cooking that up, you fucking asshole?
Wow, been sitting on that for a minute.
Damn.
He's sitting there just jerking off. He's going, I can't wait to say this.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Well, thank you again, guys. We really appreciate having you on. Please check out these great shows and YouTube channels. Well, I assume Wes will be a great YouTube channel because it was a great show by VHS in its heyday. And 2Ps on a podcast. I'll be there this week, Thursday. Top 10 films of the decade, which is kind of a nice segue off what we've done here over the last month. Wayne, what are we doing next week for episode 248?
We are doing the best and worst of TV
for the year.
For the damn year.
Yeah, narrowing our focus a little bit. We haven't talked about TV for a while, so that's going to be a really important one to wind up literally the year on the show.
That's right.
Thanks so much again for joining us. My name is Paul.
My name is Wayne.
And my name is G-Banger.
And this is Nestle Wesley White Chocolate.
Well, I tell you what, you guys are both.
Oh, fucking hell.
That is how we're going out. We will catch you next week.
See you, kids. Oh, Paul's doing an effect on the mic so he can introduce the show in a somewhat humorous manner.
I've been hearing that, yeah.
Your enthusiasm says everything, Gerald.
Oh, that's very Vader.
Is that sci-fi enough?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I didn't know Jesus was Australian.